Hello, welcome back for another Talk With Me Tuesday. My name is Kristen Langford. I am a pre-K teacher in Florida, and I do weekly vlogs, and I'm starting to do some weekly talks as well. I've already done some videos on how I do my learning centers, how I do my social centers, as well as my schedule. So if you're interested in any of those, I will link them down below for you guys. Also, I wanted to go ahead and say that if you are interested in videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and get that notification bell so you can be notified when we get more videos. But this week's Tuesday Talk is going to be, as requested, about our poems. And I want to start this video off with just like top 3 reasons why I think it's important to have poetry in a primary classroom. I'm sure there's a lot of other reasons for why it's important for intermediate, but these are my reasons for the primary kids. And they might be a little different in a pre-K classroom versus in like a kindergarten or first grade or even second grade, but it's still very, very valuable. And I do a weekly poem every day because of it. So let's get started. Okay, so top 3 reasons for why poems are important. My number 1 reason is because it promotes fluency. And I know that these pre-Kers, most of them, are not really reading, so obviously fluency is going to be a little different, but that's still a readiness skill and just them being able to express sentences, and then we can use it to help us. It also helps with their inflection, like being able to say the right tones as they're reading things. How we work on fluency in our class is that we have that weekly poem and we practice it every single day. So they're not really reading it per se, but they are learning it and they're memorizing it and they're saying those words over and over. And then by the end of the week, when we glue it in our poetry notebook, they do know it. And then they have a copy of it in front of them. And you should see, they start to like track the words. They might not be pointing to each word, but that is promoting them in a skill of reading. So fluency is a big, big indicator of why I do it. Reason number 2 is the most important one for why I do poems in pre-K, and that is because we focus on so many phonological awareness skills. These are really important, as you've probably heard everywhere, for pre-readiness skills to get ready for reading. We work on rhyming words the most, I would say. We also work on onset and rhyme. We work on more like concepts of print as well as phonological awareness with like counting words, counting the sentences. We also work on like, we'll cover the words. So for rhyming per se, we might talk about the rhyming words or whatever, and then I'll cover one of the words or I'll not say the word, and then they can fill in the blank. And that's a really easy skill for them. They might already have some background knowledge on the poem and already know what the word is from memorizing it, but then they can hear that rhyming. And then once they're ready for that, the next thing we do is we can progress into giving them some rhyming words that are in the poem and then ask them to come up with more words that rhyme, that could fit into that poem. And then it makes it silly too, like if it doesn't really make sense, but at least it fits in. Okay, that's definitely the most important one, that how we use it. Like I'll show you after how I use the poems each day on my slides and like what skills we kind of go over. But reason number 3 for poems that I find is very important is a skill of visualizing. So this one is kind of complicated, and as the kids grow older and they get in those higher level classes, they're gonna have to use that comprehension skill of visualization. And in a book, things like they're just gonna have to like listen to the description words and be able to understand what the author is trying to tell them. For poems, for instance, this week's poem is A Fall of Colors, and you know, we read it, we memorize it, we all that, and then I asked my students, I said, what do you think this poem's about? What do you think they're trying to tell us? And you'd be surprised, they honestly had no idea. They're like, crispy, crunchy, like they're just saying some of those words, and then we talk about how we visualize. Close your eyes. Listen to the words as I'm reading them. What is it describing? Let's think through this. And I model that with them. Okay, so top 3, like I said, those are the reasons that I do it. And the best part about adding poetry into your classroom is it is so quick. It is not this drawn out lesson. It is perfect for pre-K kids because it takes like 5 minutes and then you're done, and it's each day, and it just gives you that opportunity to practice those skills in a small, fun activity. So now the second part of this video is going to be about how I do that in my classroom, what it looks like each day, and some examples of the poems as well. So I'm gonna just give the example of this week, and also the class next door did come in, so if you can hear them, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do my best. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the poem from this week, which was A Fall of Colors. So we print it out on a PDF just like this, and I really just look on Pinterest. I've searched my theme. I did this like last year. Now they're all pretty much saved, hopefully. I'm probably missing a couple weeks, but I find a poem that's catchy, easy, simple, nothing too abstract, and I type it up and I make it into 2 pages on a like PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, and then I made it into PDF to print. Then we just like cut them in half and glue them into the poem. So anyways, it's a fall of colors. So it says, I like sunshine, I like trees, I like dancing in the breeze. So right there, like we'll do motions with it, and then we'll also have rhyming words, trees and breeze. And then I turn orange, I turn brown, I go sailing to the ground. I am crispy, I can crunch, I get raked up in a bunch. So as you can see, it's like very catchy. The kids love it. We make up motions that keeps them engaged in it, and it helps with visualizing. I'm going to show you what we did on the whole week with the slides, and then I'll show you the final product. So the slide is exactly the same every single day with saying weekly poem, and then it's kind of hard to see, but the words are written here for the poem, and then here it says what our activity is. So on Monday, we literally read it several times, maybe change our voices, monster voice, quiet voice, loud voice, and we learn motions. And by motions, I literally make it up as I go, and they're super simple. Then on Tuesday, the poem's here again, so we read it, same way, we do our motions, everything, and then I just drew out some rhyming words from the poem. We start with what rhymes with trees and see if they can go with it, or like I said earlier in the video, I'll do I like trees, I like dancing in the, and I stop talking to see if they can fill it in. I say, that's right, trees and breeze rhyme. Or I'll say, what's something else that rhymes with trees? So just rhyming focus, and literally 5 minutes. Then moving on to Wednesday, poems here, we read it several times, do our motions. Then I pulled out a couple sentences right now for counting words, and we come up and we circle the words, then we count how many words are in the sentence. We also clap how many words are in the sentence. We count with our fingers how many words are in the sentence as we're saying it, and then counting the letters. This is just a skill that we're working on right now, knowing the difference between letters and words. So that's what we work on Wednesdays. And when we're done with that, I'll pick a different kind of skill to go over. Then Thursday, poem again, motions, all the stuff. Then I just pull out some words from the poem, and I do either syllables to blend them together, or sometimes the beginning sound to the end, the onset and rhyme. So basically just like a verbal oral listening of blending. And then I just use the words from the poem just to help me, because you can do this with any word obviously, but the words in the poem give me words to practice, and they're familiar with those words because we've been doing the poem every day. Then finally on Friday we read it, and then we get to make it in our poem book, which I'll show you now. So I'm gonna start with this week's, and then I'll go back and show you some of the poems that we've already done. But like I said, we give them the cutout and they glue it right there, and then we come up with a little craft. So sometimes the crafts are more elaborate, where they actually have to like build something or put something together or whatever. I just make up whatever I can on the fly. Or sometimes we just like are gluing things in that are visualizing of the poem. Another thing you could do in older grades is like they could draw what they think the poem is about, but you know, our kids are still learning kind of how to draw a lot of the times, and that visualizing skill is already pretty difficult, and then you add in having to draw something that they don't know how to draw, and it's like frustration level. So with visualizing, I talked about what they're talking about, and we figured out that they're talking about leaves, so we glued on leaves, and that's it. Later in the year, we could even do some skills with pointing and circling, maybe some letters that we want to find, or maybe some words, or we could count how many words are in the sentence ourselves instead of doing it whole group. So lots of variety. Nothing is set in stone. There's so many different activities you could do with it, but I do see that they love it, and it comes with like, it's a cute book that they get to take home at the end of the year. All right, so the first poem was Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. That was one of our themes, and then we just made a Chicka Chicka Boom Boom tree, and they added the letters of their name that they knew. Then this one for Apple Week was Apples Way Up High, and there was 2 apples that smiled at them, so they glued in some apples and drew smiley faces. Then for Community Helper Week, we found our community helper hats, and we talked about how they're community helpers, and we glued that in. And then for Pet Week, we glued in cat, fish, and dog. And then for a fall of colors, we did the leaves, like I said. Okay, so that's pretty much it for poems. It was short, it was sweet, it's just like the poem time, and I hope it helped you. I will link down below the poems that I do. It kind of, I know people have been asking about my themes too. I do have it somewhat organized, but it's not like perfectly organized because you know that teacher life. So I haven't really been able to share my themes, but this could kind of give you an idea of in order of what my poems are. Next week is Spider Week, so I went with Itsy Bitsy Spider as a poem, and then the week after that is Pumpkins, and it's I'm a Little Pumpkin, kind of like Itsy Bitsy Spider, but it's all different words. So anyways, I'll link that down below. I hope you liked it. I will talk to you guys next Tuesday. Bye.